Good day, ladies and gents. All right, so today we're going to be doing constructions. So there's two websites that you guys can go to. One is about like a big list of a ton of videos you can go look at, and another site is practice. So so if we go to this location, that would be this one right here. So if you scroll down, you'll see a big list of all these different videos that you could go watch step by step, and it shows you exactly what we're doing, but we're going to actually do most of that together. And another one is we're actually drawing it yourself. So this is one that I just drew. So I'll give you an example of how to do that. So first thing is I would click on, let's say that we had a point, a line, and I want to go through this random point right here. Okay, so I would, so now I'm going to click on my compass. And so if I want to move it, I would grab the needle until I find a location that I'm happy with. And then I would either lock or unlock it. So if I unlock this and I touch the pencil, I can make it as wide or skinny as I want. So let's say I wanted to get right about here. So I'm going to lock it. And as soon as I wanted, so I can still move it, and now it's locked in place. And as soon as I get to a place where I like, I'm going to grab the top of the compass, the black part, and I'm going to move it, and that's how it starts marking. Okay, so now if I want to mark over here, so you know how it gets a little crazy right there. Okay, so you just have to be really careful how you move your mouse. Okay, so now I want to mark over here. So I'm going to draw this. Okay, so now I want to move this to here. I want to unlock this, and I want to move the pencil so it's more than halfway across. I lock it. I want to move my pencil so it's below. I mark it down here, and then I move the needle over here. I'm just giving you guys an example of how to use this this app right here. And then I want to mark it here. So now I want to get rid of the compass, and I just want to draw a straight line from the beginning point, which I could have just said, okay, that's point P. Let's that was kind of bad. So if I want to undo that, undoing too many things. I want to mark this, and I want to mark this. Just redoing that. Okay, so now if I want to draw a line through the point P and the intersection, now I have a perpendicular bisector. So that just gives me an example of how to use that website. Excellent. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to do the first one, which is perpendicular bisector of a segment. So I'm looking for the ending to be this, where I had a line and I'm drawing a perpendicular line through it. Okay, so so there's basically 3 steps, and but let's go ahead and see what it looks like completely. All right, so step 1. Okay, so first of all, it already has a line for you. Okay, so here's the line, and we want to draw a perpendicular bisector. Okay, so take your compass, go to one of the points, and measure more than halfway across. And now we're going to take that measurement, and we're going to mark the top and the bottom. And with that same setting, you're going to jump to the other point, and we're going to mark the top and bottom. Okay, now you have that those 2 intersections. Draw a line through the intersections, and that's your answer, which is what we were having right there. Excellent. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so this is our goal to get to this point right here. So if we have a line with a point on it, and I want to draw a perpendicular line through that point. So let's do it. Okay, so with this, you already have a line and a point on it. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to measure some distance away from that point and mark left and right of it. Okay, so now you're actually in familiar territory. You have 2 points. Just ignore the K for a second. And what you're going to do is measure more than halfway across and mark the top, because you don't have to mark the bottom, because you know you're going to go through K. And then with that same setting, mark the top again. And we're going to draw from the intersection through that point. You could have easily marked the bottom as well. You would have still gone through that point, but this is the bare minimum of what you needed to do. Okay, so there you go. All right, let's go to the next one. Number 3. Okay, so our goal is so perpendicular line through the point that is not on the line. So we have a line and we have a point, and we want to make a perpendicular line through it. So let's make it happen. Okay, so we have a line and a point. All right, so we're going to place our compass at R, and we're going to measure more than like past the line. So that way we can mark to the left and right of that. Now we have our 2 points, and now we're in familiar territory. So put your compass at one of the points, measure more than halfway across, and mark the bottom, and do the same thing on the other side. Mark the bottom. We could mark the top as well, but it doesn't matter because we already have a point. We just needed one other intersection, and there's our line. So basically what you're trying to do is like, what are you missing? So if I wanted a perpendicular if I wanted a perpendicular line, what am I missing? I'm missing a point down here, so I'm trying to make an X down here somehow. Oh, there it is. Okay, so and that's for all of them. You just like, what are you trying to get to? All right, so we're trying to make a parallel line, right? That goes through this point. So, all right, so think about like what you're trying to do. Okay, so basically I have this line right here, and the parallel line would be like here. So I need an X somewhere over here in order for this to work. Okay, so how are we going to do this? So the whole goal is to have an X somewhere over here. All right, so I'm going to make a diagonal line. And now we're going to measure a distance from J to R, like more than halfway, as usual, right? And make a big arc. And with that same setting, copy paste. And you just want to make sure that it's like more than a quarter of a circle, because if you go around in a big old circle, you want more, right? You want maybe like half of a circle kind of thing going on here. That way you would go past where the X needs to be. The X needs to be somewhere right here. Okay, so what are we missing? We know that this and this are equal, right? That distance right there, because that's the radius of the circle, that you're only drawing part of it. Okay, so what we're missing is this distance to complete the triangle. So we're going to measure from here to here and then copy paste it, because that's what we're trying to draw, the X right there. Now we have our X. All we have to do is draw a line from R to S. And that is our parallel line. Excellent. Okay, and then, okay, number 5, angle bisector. All right, so for an angle bisector, I love angle bisector. You have an angle and you want to have an X somewhere over here in the middle so you can draw a line through it, right? Okay, let's actually get this done. Okay, so we already have an angle. So what do we want to do? We want to we want to have an X right here, right? But in order to have an X, we had that those curves that create the X, that create the intersection, have to come from somewhere. So they have to be somewhere over here. So we're going to measure some distance from Q. Okay, and mark from the bottom and the top, right? Boom. Okay, now with that same setting, very important, with that same setting, go to each one of those arcs and mark. So we mark here with that same setting, mark here, and make sure that you make the arc big enough that they actually intersected. Okay, and now you just have to draw a line from Q through the intersection, and there's your angle bisector. Fantastico. Alrighty, and then the last one. Okay, so the last one is if you are copying the congruent angles. That's what we're doing. So copying the congruent angles. All right. So you're starting with an angle right now, and then you're trying to redraw it somewhere else. All right. So let's do it. Okay. So how do we get that done? All right. So first of all, we have an angle. Okay. So we have to have a point and a line somewhere. So let's make a ray. Boom. There's a point, and we're just making a straight line. It could look like anything, just as long as you have a ray going on somewhere. Okay, so now we have this. We want to have an X somewhere up here so we know how wide this angle is. Okay, so on the original, we're going to make some kind of arc. Copy paste it onto the other one. Okay, so along here, we need to make an X. So we already know this distance and this distance of the triangle would be equal to each other because it's the radius of the circle. So we're only missing this other part of the triangle. So we need to measure this distance right here in order to know how wide to make this. So measure the distance from K to J and copy paste it. Now we have our intersection, draw a line from P through that intersection, and there's your line, and that's it. So hopefully watching this video really solidified a couple of these things, just a nice little refresher of how these steps work. And that's about it. And that is everything you need to know about constructions.